This is Python's Paradise. This is your host, Greg Gilbert, aka the Python Hyena. And folks, I'm an action figure collector. I know I'm about to turn 50 in a little over 4 months, but still, I find it funny if I go in Toys R Us, I find more adults in there than I find children. Why? Because collecting is a major thing, especially if you go to the cons. And it always amazes me the stuff I see that I've never seen before at a convention. Well, I was at the Toronto Comic Con in 2019, and they had a bunch of the LGN wrestling figures there, and I grabbed up about a dozen or so of them, and they now reside at my place. Well, some folks out there custom make figurines as well. Well, Scott, the icon Helmsrest from Attitude Era Live, had put me in contact with the gentleman I have on the show tonight, a custom figurine manufacturer. We have Jeryn Piehl. How do you do? Did I get your first name right?
Yes. Yep. Jeryn Piehl.
Okay, yep. I've never seen that before. So with a Y there at the end of it there.
Yeah.
Y-N, yep.
AREN and stuff. So yeah.
There you go. Yeah. So you know Scott, huh?
Yeah. He contacted me through Facebook one time a few times now, and he wanted me to be on his Attitude Era podcast, and I was like, sure. And I believe it was a couple weeks now, and went on there to describe briefly about wrestling action figures and then the customization I do for pretty much Minnesota figures and Midwest figures, and just went on from there. And he got me in contact with you, and yeah.
Absolutely. Well, I am big into the figurine collecting, and anything I happen to like. And but I want to know, how did you get into making customs? What's your background and how you arrived at that?
Yeah, so the idea of making custom figures came to me in about 7 years ago now, maybe 2016, because 2015 I got into the actual figure collecting itself. And then about a year later I got into customizing wrestling action figures. I started out pretty much like everybody, making WWE customs, made like Seth Rollins, AJ Styles, a couple Jeff Hardys, and did that for about a year or so, and then went to my first ever like live pro wrestling event in Minnesota. It was in New Market, Minnesota. Went there. It was they called it Under the Big Top 1, and there's been 4 shows or 3 or 4 shows after that now, but it's just like a big annual event that this wrestler Mitch Paradise threw. And went to that, and just like, I don't know, it got me inspired to do or just watch Minnesota wrestling. But then I was thinking like maybe I could make wrestling action figures for them, because I mean, up until maybe a few years ago, that I didn't think people really made customs of like independent wrestlers, and they most likely won't have an official action figure only if like they get to the big times of WWE and AEW. So decided to do like a fun part in doing that, and Mitch Paradise was my first custom figure. Made that in about like summer, or no, not probably later of 2017, around November, December. Did that, and then a few years later I got my first phone at the age of 17, and then went on the social media, posted that figure, and just blew up on the Mitch Paradise fan page. I got like 130 likes on that Facebook post, like 30 some comments, because like it was first time anyone had ever seen like for sure a Mitch Paradise figure, but just like a Midwest action figure on I guess to the scale that it was. So
what did he think?
he thought it was really cool. He commented it was like love it, awesome, and then shared it and everything. So he really enjoyed it. Yeah. And yeah, that just pretty much went on to a few years later. Sold my or started selling figures. I sold my first figure to Moses Mayhem, who's now a former Minnesota wrestler, but now resides in Florida. And a few years later, I'm still doing it. I've made about 25, at least Minnesota Midwest based figures, and gotten pretty good popularity within the Midwest district. And yeah, it's just been crazy of how much I didn't think all this work of custom figures would blow up like this, and now pretty much I would say a lot of people at every show that I go to know me. So, and then promoters too. So it's really cool.
So how do you go about making them? Like when you went to make that first figure, how did you do it, and how do you do it now? Same way?
Um, yeah, relatively the same way. It's just even though I still don't have enough as much patience as I want to yet, I'm definitely a lot more patient than I was a few years ago. And the main thing with working with custom figures is working in layers, because if you don't work in layers, it's just going to be like gobs of paint and it's not going to look good and just looks blotchy. So I've gotten better with layers and or yeah, working in layers, being more patient. And then when I finalize this figure, you got to make sure you use like just a little bit of Mod Podge. You don't want to use a whole lot of that, because then it'll look like too shiny and too blobby. So just picked up some more tips here and there, and watched a lot of people on the internet. So yeah.
So how do you go about making the figures?
Basically I go, well, given now that I have so many parts, I look through, like, actually let's start before that. So yeah, I decide which wrestler I want to make, which gear, try to find like all four angles of the gear, front, back, side to side, and maybe some details if there's something that I need to see better of, and pretty much do that. Get like usually like screenshots off the internet, or pictures of when I go to events. And then after that, I go online or see what I have in inventory of my figures, see which best parts there are. Sometimes it can take a while or short while, and just a lot of research. Got to get the right body or body mold, and then height, and then for facial features, you got to get the pretty much the right head scan, because I always say like the head scan is pretty much what makes the figure. If it's soft, and everything else is just gonna look weird. And after that, I order the parts or use the parts that I have. Start disassembling some parts. Start attaching some new parts. Uh, Pretty much, if I need to like remove some stuff, I use a 100% acetone nail polish to remove some spots here and there. And after that, I pretty much start painting, working in layers, working with patience a lot. And once I'm done, just during that process, if I need to like sculpt any hair on or any features on it, I use epoxy sculpt, and then do that, and Mod Podge the figure with the pretty using enough Mod Podge, but not overly like abusing like too much of it at the same time. And once that's done, pretty much the figure's done. I usually like to play around with the figure with the joints and stuff, so that I can see if the paint's tearing or not. So hopefully it doesn't, but sometimes it does. And then just I usually wait a few days just to make sure it's all set, and then it's usually finished.
You ever make
So
LGN figures?
I haven't yet. I've made Mattel figures, and then recently I've made Unrivaled figures, the AEW brand.
I have a bunch of the Legends figures when they come out for Jax, but I started getting into collecting the LGN figures because I grew up with those, and you
Mhm.
couldn't really break them, although you don't let your pet hold of them, but they're
Mhm.
made of
Yeah.
rubber. And
Right.
I love those, and I'm still collecting them. And I've actually seen a few customs of these, but and plus it's back in my era. Here's a
Right.
guy that was not original LGN, but Random Treasures on Etsy made this.
Okay. Oh, okay. That looks pretty good.
You know who it is?
I believe it's Mr. Perfect, right?
Mr. Perfect, Kurt Hennig. Yeah. Yep,
Yeah.
they did a good job. They got a good mold of him. Yeah, these were all pre-posed, but they're pretty flexible. But I mean, you could, like I said, you could throw these down a flight of stairs and not hurt them. I always liked these, and they did a Kurt Hennig, and they did a bunch. Very pricey though. I've only gotten one custom because it's like it's pretty pricey, but they did. There was one done. Let me see if I can find it. Because I don't know whether they're gonna make a comeback or what the story is. Let me see if I can find it. I got quite a few of them here, so I'm trying to find one that is probably buried in here. But it was a good. Oh, here we are. AEW come out with this.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I've seen that in Targets and Walmarts already.
Yeah, and this is the only one I grabbed because it was the only one that was done like this. And I'm like, I'm kind of committed to just getting them like this because it's like like I said, you can't break them.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. With it being rubber, it's not plastic is a lot more difficult to break, and which is sometimes unfortunate. But yeah, the LJNs are really cool from what I see on the internet and stuff.
yep. Well, I'm
And
a,
that-
a collector of these. I got some. I got at Comic Con. Here's
Oh yeah, the honky tonk man.
no,
Oh, that's not honk. Oh, that is
no,
fruit. Oh, maybe. Oh, is that Jake?
huh?
Is that Jake the Snake right
Jake
there?
the Snake. Yep.
Okay. Yeah,
Jake
maybe it's
the
the camera. I'm like, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, I got a Jake the Snake Roberts. He was always one of my favorites. To
Mm-hmm.
me, if I watch somebody wrestle, if I click on somebody on the internet, I watch this guy right here because this guy here never
Mm-hmm.
fails to entertain.
Mm-hmm.
Yep,
Yeah, Steamboat, right?
Ricky the Dragon Steamboat.
Yeah.
Like he does the best arm drag, those high arm drags. And when he came back and he wrestled Chris Jericho, he still had it. And
Yeah.
yep. And so I got a Ricky Steamboat. I'm not going to show them all, but I got bags and bags.
Mm-hmm.
Here's one of my all-time favorites,
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, that
Rowdy
looks
Roddy
pretty good.
Piper.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Don't have the kilt though. A lot of times it's hard to get their accessories with them, but
Oh yeah.
yeah, but I've got some plastic ones where I've got the kilt, but and
Right. Oh man, it's a great head sculpt on there.
there's the Iron Sheik. He's
Oh
gonna
yeah.
he's gonna put you in the camel clutch, make you humble.
Yeah, yeah. Mhm. Oh
Yep,
yeah.
they did a good job on him.
Mm-hmm.
Here's another one I really like.
What is it? Oh, Animal Steel. Yeah.
Yeah, George the Animal Steel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my advice though is that don't like this one's got the hands down almost to his side. They should have them up a little bit, but nonetheless, there's some flexibility there. But it's definitely a great likeness of George the Animal Steel, you know.
Right.
Uh,
Yeah.
and here's as far as I'm concerned, the greatest champion ever.
Mm. Oh yeah, San Martino.
Yeah, Bruno Sammartino. To me, they've never had a better champion than Bruno.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, always been a big Bruno Sammartino fan.
Yeah.
Let me see. Here's somebody I'm sure you'll be familiar with.
What is it? Oh, the Macho Man. Oh,
Yeah. Ooh,
mhm.
yeah, the Macho Man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that's a good likeness of him too. So you
Hmm.
know, like I said, I've got plastic ones, but I've gotten really into collecting these because it's like we just merely lost this guy here.
What is it? Oh, that Orndorff?
Yep, Paul
Orndorff?
Orndorff.
Okay.
Okay, you know your stuff a little bit there. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep, Paul Orndorff.
Hmm.
Yeah. And I'm gonna give you a tough one.
Oh.
I'm gonna give you a tough one because this is the only figure made of this guy. But
Oh,
I
okay.
remember him.
Huh. Oh, uh, I have no idea. That's that's not a Lance Cade, is it?
Nope.
Was yeah. Uh, is that Bob Orton? Maybe?
No, you're very,
Ah,
very close though. I do have Bob Orton here though. Here's
huh.
Bob Orton.
Oh, okay.
Here's Bob Orton, Cowboy Bob.
Cowboy Bob. I have no idea. It's not a bushwhacker.
Nope. Although close though, Australia.
That's right. Okay. I have no idea. Uh,
Outback Jack.
Outback. I don't think I remember that.
Well,
Huh.
you can find him
Outback.
online. He was an
Yeah.
enhancement talent, but
Oh, okay.
yeah, but I remember because when I got into wrestling, I'll give you that story coming up here, how I got into wrestling.
Okay.
Yeah, and here's one of my favorites, of course.
Why, who is uh oh man, I can't tell. Uh
He's the king of the hardcore matches.
oh, is it Terry Funk or
Terry
Dory?
Funk. Terry
Yeah.
Funk.
Oh yeah, and his original gear.
Yep, his original gear. Yep.
Mhm.
Terry was to me one of the very, very best. Yeah, I've got a ton of these figures in here, and I just thought I would show a few of them off here, and I've kind of gotten into collecting those because, like I said, you can't really break them. Although there are a few I've seen that have been chewed apart by
Oh.
people's pets.
Mhm.
But well, all you have to do is keep them away from your pets, and you should be fine. But
Right.
yeah, but I've gotten into collecting these, and you mentioned the honky tonk man. There is an LGN of them, but I do not have that one. There's some of them that are very hard to find, and
Mhm.
when I went to that con, I wasn't actually sure which of some I had and which ones I did because I was very unsure of managers, and there was some managers I couldn't pick. I could have picked up, and I thought I had them, and turned out I didn't. So, oh well. But
Right.
yeah, I started collecting them. Here's my backstory for wrestling.
Mhm.
Um, to me, they've never had a WrestleMania any better to this day, any better than WrestleMania 3.
Right. Yeah,
To
yeah.
me, that was the best WrestleMania hands down. I like
Mhm.
every match on the card.
Mhm.
I don't think every match is what I call great, but I was entertained by them all. I
Mhm.
think the best match in the card was easily Steamboat and Savage, you know,
Yeah.
but loved WrestleMania 3. Now, before WrestleMania 3 came out, they did a thing, a promotional thing where you could get stickers, 20 different stickers in the hostess chip bags.
Oh.
And I was none aware of this. I was sitting in math class, and somebody beside me had a sticker of Jake the Snake Roberts.
Oh,
And since I'm a big lover of snakes, it's my favorite animal is snakes. I
okay.
asked about this because it was Jake there with the snake. And he said that Jake puts a snake on his opponents after he beats them. And I'm like, I want to see that. Well,
Mhm.
there was about 20 of these stickers, and the host of odd characters that were on these stickers. Besides Jake, you had Rowdy Roddy Piper, you had Hulk Hogan on a couple of them, you had
Mhm.
the Junkyard Dog, you had George the Animal Steel, you had Paul, Mr. Wonderful Orndorff, Outback Jack was on one.
Oh, hmm.
Yep. Coco Beware, Kamala, Sika, the Magnificent Morocco, the Honky Tonk Man. You know, they had the British Bulldogs on a card. They had the Sheik and Volkov on a card. And
Mhm.
I was looking at the Randy Savage was on one, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. I was looking at these and I was like, wow, odd characters that were on these cards. King Kong Bundy, Hillbilly Jim, like I could go on. And I was like, these weren't wrestlers to me. These were it was like human cartoons, these personalities. Like, who are these characters? So
Mhm.
I really wanted to see Jake the Snake put that snake on his opponent. So
Yeah.
I had an uncle that was watching wrestling. So when I was visiting there one night, they put wrestling on.
Hmm.
And I didn't see Jake that night,
Hmm.
but I did see a match that made me a fan of a particular individual. And this was just prior to WrestleMania 3. The main event of the night was a 6-man tag elimination match.
Hmm.
And on the heel side, you had Jimmy Hart, the mouth of the South, leading out the adorable Adrian Adonis,
Oh, yeah.
who I've got in here. And he passed away, I think, the following year. But Adrian Adonis would come out. His partner was being led out by Bobby the Brain Heenan, King Harley Race. And
Oh, yeah.
then their partner was being led out by the lovely, the absolutely gorgeous Miss Elizabeth, Randy Macho Man Savage.
Mhm.
And their opponents were going to be the individuals that are facing one-on-one at WrestleMania 3. So the first one to come out, who would be facing Harley Race at WrestleMania 3 in a loser must bow match, was the Junkyard Dog.
Hmm.
And his partner, of course, was going to be facing Randy Savage at WrestleMania 3, was Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. And then
Oh.
their partner, who was facing Adrian Adonis in a hair versus hair match at WrestleMania 3, and who was going to retire for the first of many times, was Rowdy Roddy Piper.
Mhm.
This was a good match. And I was locked and loaded on this match. And I became a fan of Rowdy Roddy Piper through this match
Hmm.
because it came down to Roddy Piper and Randy Savage. They were the last two left. And Piper outsmarted the Macho Man and scored the win
Hmm.
and won the match for his team. Um, I love Piper's sense of humor. I was so sad when he passed away.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
think
Yeah.
he and Terry Funk, I think, were in a race to see who could retire the most.
Mhm.
But I've had Piper's son Colt and his daughter Ariel on the show here in tribute
Oh.
to him, and I'm still in touch with Ariel. I love driving her up the wall with the cameo requests I make of her, and
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But nonetheless, that was where I got my interest in wrestling, and I followed it for a long time. until about the 90s, and then I just kind of like dropped away from it because I didn't like what the industry was doing. Um, I certainly am not a fan of Shawn Michaels after what he did to our Canadian flag after the Montreal screw job, rubbing
Yeah.
it on his crotch and spitting on it and blowing his nose on it.
Mm,
Wasn't thrilled about that. There was no call for that. So I was like, I kind of dropped away from it. I do look to see what happens at the WrestleManias every year, but I don't really follow it. But that was where I got my start wrestling, was WrestleMania 3, which I loved, and to me they never topped it. Where did it
yeah.
start for you?
Well, actually, even before that though, originally, I think once I watched, the first time I watched wrestling, I honestly like almost like all the haters of wrestling. I just really wasn't interested. I thought it was kind of weird and stuff. But then what and that was after I watched the WrestleMania 7, and I thought the Savage versus Steam or no Savage versus
Warrior.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I watched that and I thought it was pretty okay, but it wasn't like too into it or anything. But I really got into wrestling when I watched SummerSlam 2005, and the main event was John Cena versus Chris Jericho for the WWE title.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I just like the energy of like those early 2000s and how like they had all the rock music and it was just electric, and it was just I just liked how the show was put together, and it just felt really real and just yeah, real and surreal. So yeah, I remember Batista versus JBL was on there, and no holds barred, and what was it, Chris Benoit versus Orlando Jordan. I think Chris Benoit tapped him out in like 20 or 30 seconds. So yeah, that's I would say that got me into wrestling, and then this so many years later, I'm still watching it. But oh yeah, by the way, I started watching in 2010, but I went back and watched the WrestleMania 2005. So that's how I got into it, and just I kept up with wrestling just through old DVDs, and then got I got an iPad eventually and just started watching a lot of YouTube clips and pretty much went on to that. I'm still pretty much still watching YouTube clips, but I do have or my parents got a subscription through like Peacock, and I sometimes watch WWE stuff on their matches or current matches, but it's just yeah, like you said, it's not as good as it was back then. I just kind of watch it here and there, and then AEW, I watch a lot of clips of that on YouTube and stuff. And lately, I just watch like documentaries and old stuff. So, yeah.
It's interesting because we meant that match between the Warrior and Randy Savage at WrestleMania 7. That to me was the match of that night, and that was the best match the Warrior had because Savage knew how to get a good match out of him.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like between Bret Hart and Steve Austin at WrestleMania 13. The reason Steve Austin looked so good in that match is because he was taking on Bret Hart. You
Right.
know, WrestleMania 38's coming up. A lot of people are complaining because Ronda Rousey's not fighting Becky Lynch. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm glad Ronda Rousey is taking on Charlotte Flair because Charlotte Flair, number one, is the best woman on the roster.
Yeah.
She is hands down, whether they want to admit it or not. She's hands down technically the best woman on the roster. And if anybody will get a good technical match out of Ronda Rousey, it's Charlotte Flair. I'm
Mm-hmm.
looking forward to seeing Charlotte versus Ronda because I think Ronda will do her best work with Charlotte. You know, I don't
Mm-hmm.
follow a lot of it today. I liked it back, like I said, 70s and 80s.
Mhm.
Because back in the 70s and 80s, there was something about it. You knew it was not real, but at the same token, it's like Terry Funk had said in a promo. He said, "You might not believe in wrestling, but you certainly will believe in me."
Mm.
And there was
Right.
stuff that happened in wrestling back then that made you go with it. Like one of the best feuds back in the 80s was between Jimmy Superfly Snuka and Rowdy Roddy Piper, where Piper smashed Snuka in the head with a coconut. And I
Right.
found out how they did that too. you
Mm.
know Apparently Snuka had something under his headband, so
Oh.
when Piper went to hit him with that coconut, he made
Mhm.
sure Snuka was not to move. He was going to hit that headband,
Oh.
so that Snuka would not get injured for real. But the thing is, back then you didn't know, and when they had their feud, you believed in it.
Mhm.
you know um so back then, you look at the first WrestleMania, it doesn't have all the flashy showcase that it has today, but it definitely had the energy. And a lot of it, whether Vince McMahon will admit it or not, a lot of it had to do with Cyndi Lauper's connection with Captain Lou Albano,
Oh,
because
yeah, yeah.
that's where rock and wrestling came from. And that's what led to WrestleMania 1 right there. And the sound of the crowd when Hogan and Mr. T took on Roddy Piper and Paul Orndorff was deafening. And
Mm.
a lot of it, I mean, people can credit Hulk Hogan all they want to. A lot of it was Piper playing a great heel, and he
Yeah.
did. Yep.
Mm.
I find today they don't know how to get heat.
Yeah, definitely.
They don't. I find that you get too many people that go from good to bad to good to bad too quickly.
Mhm.
Um, Guys like Roddy Piper and Ric Flair, they knew how to get heat. And when Ric Flair and Dusty Rhodes had their feud, they had you in the palm of their hand through their promos before they even went to the ring.
Mhm.
One of the things I hate about today is every time something happens, their music comes on. Don't play the music. Have people come out. If there's going to be somebody making an appearance in the middle of a match,
Mhm.
have them make the surprise appearance. It
Oh.
makes it look a lot more fake when you got two people double teaming one guy, and then suddenly you hear this music hit, and then somebody comes out. I'm like,
Mhm.
really?
Mhm.
Stuff like that. I'm going to tell you another thing that's lacking today is heel commentators.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Those first 6 WrestleManias, you had Gorilla Monsoon, who was very no nonsense, and you had Jesse Ventura, the Body, on commentary.
Mhm.
And Jesse said when he was asked to be a heel commentator, his advice was whatever he says is right in his mind. And
Oh.
Jesse always backed the heel, and Gorilla Monsoon would back the face. Then when Jesse left, they had Bobby Heenan come in, who of course was the Weasel. Bobby Heenan did the same thing, very different dynamic because of course Monsoon was able to tower over Bobby Heenan. And Jerry Lawler did some really good heel commentary, but they don't have that now. And I wish they would go back to it. I miss it,
Mhm.
the heel
Yeah.
commentary. Yeah, because it was entertaining.
Mhm.
So, yep. So, talk about some, and we're going to get back to talk about your figurines because we obviously love wrestling, but
Yeah.
to talk
Mhm.
about when you sell these figurines? Do you want to go into how much do they go for?
Right now I charge $45 to sometimes $50 per figure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And yeah, I just started out with that price. It's I saw one other guy on the Instagram doing it. I thought that was pretty reasonable price for the stage I'm at and the work that I do. And I know sometimes it can reach like 100 or 70s to 100 or $200, but I thought that was the most reasonable for the community that I was making them for. Yeah.
So, where do you get all your parts? Because obviously, if you're getting them off of other figures, you have to buy other figures to do that. So,
Mhm.
wouldn't that get pricey?
It does. Yeah. Well, currently right now I'm just using, well, a few years ago I bought like, I don't know, my parents gave me like $200 and I spent it all on parts to make originally WWE customs, and then I just got bored of that and I'm like, well, I guess I have all these parts. Let's just start doing Midwest figures. So I probably got like 50 figures, or no, probably like 30 figures and then all these parts. So just adds up. And but yeah, it was definitely costly. And when I would buy parts at maybe Walmart or Target, it'd definitely be like $200 runs. And then I used Ringside Collectibles a few times. I got some stuff off there. And now, since I have spent so much money in the past, I just have all of it now. And it's not as difficult to go out and it's not as difficult to go and get parts because I already have most of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What's the most common figure you get asked to do?
Sh- I would probably say Mitch Paradise. He's just a big Midwest wrestler, and I made like three so far, and there's people just want them so much now. But I've been just trying to like use the parts that I have now because I don't want to go out and spend anything, especially now when I'm in college and really don't have much right now. So yeah, just Mitch Paradise is probably the biggest one right now. And yeah, something I definitely got to do. He's got so many gears from 20, 25 or 30 years now. So yeah, he's definitely a veteran of the game and he's also a fan favorite. So yeah.
Do you have one right there with you? You could show us?
Not currently, no. I sold the ones that I had. Yeah. I mean, I do have stuff on my Facebook profile if I could like
Okay.
share a screen or something.
Okay, though that's okay. I'll look on your Facebook,
Okay.
but we'll get you to plug that before we close off. But
Yeah.
was there any figures that were a challenge to do, but you were looking forward to tackling that challenge?
Um, I would probably have to go to, well, it'd be a few of them, but the very first one would have to going back to that Moses Mayhem because he's it was a different kind of formula that I used, and he's like a bodybuilder dude, but also wore like cargo pants. So I had to figure out. I sculpted the shirt onto like I believe it was like a Warlord elite torso,
Mm-hmm.
and then I had to buy a Bully Ray, or Bubba Ray Dudley, which those figures are expensive now that
Mm-hmm.
they came out like 5 years ago, and now they're not in wrestling, and they don't have like I don't think they have a Legends deal or anything for figures. So that was a little bit challenging to get that, but I was able to get that, and then use the Bubba Ray head scan from that. So, and yeah, I would probably say the most challenging part was the sculpting of the shirt because it just sculpting the entire shirt on and then making sure it didn't get in the way of like the ab crunches, so it would the sculpt wouldn't like start warping or tearing or anything. So it's definitely a lot of work put into that. And then I would say right now I'm almost done with the Eureka Tahaka. She's an AEW rookie and wrestles throughout the Midwest, and definitely I haven't done too many women figures, so that was just a little bit of a challenge right there, just adjusting. But she also had like a lot of designs, and I also had to like resculpt. I used the China bodies, so resculpted parts of like the bra strap and removing parts of the strap to make it of her likeness.
Mm-hmm.
And
The
she's
best. This is my figure.
you got a cat. Oh
Hey,
yeah.
Skittles. Skittles, say hello. Skittles says, "You're exploiting me again. You're exploiting me for hits."
Hmm. Yeah, cats are really cool though. Or my yeah, my parents have, yeah, 4 cats right now. So yeah, lots of cats.
Yeah. You make a Skittles action figure? That would be a challenge because this cat is not ambitious. So
Mm.
action is not part of his nature.
Yeah, I would
Skittles
have to
is,
go to like a whole new universe of figures and buy like a cat figure or something.
you see that, Kitty? Kitty says, "Why are you exploiting me? You're exploiting me." And my response is, "You live here rent free."
Hmm.
You have pet?
Yeah, I do. I'm, yeah, currently in college, so I haven't seen them for a while, but I do at my parents' house. We have 4 cats. 2 are gray Russian blues. One's I forgot what the one's a black cat and one's a black and white cat. So
Black and
yeah,
white.
yeah.
Skittles says, "You're not going to make me interested."
Mm.
Skittles is not
Oh yeah.
happy.
Yeah, I'm almost done finishing up the Zoom meeting and then I'll be out. Sorry, I forgot the time.
No, it's okay. I'll be
Okay.
ready. I'll come back.
Okay, sounds good.
Tell her that you're watching cat videos.
Watching cat videos. Yeah, I forgot the
So,
different
is there any wrestlers that you want to sculpt that you haven't done yet?
Yeah, definitely. I would say a Joey Avalon is something I want to do. He's
Mhm.
a like a or yeah, big time wrestler. He's wrestled for a few years. I would probably say he's my still my favorite Minnesota Midwest wrestling figure or wrestlers. So watched him a few years ago and just sometime I gotta make a figure of him and also I'll probably say some other people. Trying to think. Oh yeah, like there's a wrestler, Nikki. He's wrestled. I think it's been a while since I've seen him really do much, but I know he's a wrestler from the Academy of Pro Wrestling, uh, probably Ricky Love, and yeah, probably a whole list by now. But definitely there are a lot of still continuing with the Minnesota Midwest guys, but there's definitely a lot that I want to do. Yeah.
Well, the only LGN female that was ever done was Miss Elizabeth. I don't have a Miss Elizabeth, but now I say women wrestling has gotten so much bigger because I know back in the day I have my favorites. I loved Velvet McIntyre, loved Princess Victoria. Wendy Richter was awesome. She would wrestle in cage matches.
Oh
But
yeah.
wrestling now, one thing I am happy about today's wrestling is women are a little more prominent than they used to be, a lot more
Yeah.
prominent. And I'd say if I can compliment anything about today's wrestling, I love Charlotte Flair. She's not, people could say, yeah, she got into the business because of her dad, but you know what? She does not sleepwalk through it. She's totally her own character, and boy, she's got the skill that her dad has, and she puts her own spin to it. So I'm a Charlotte Flair admirer. I'll say that.
Mm.
Yep. So I like what is happening with women today. Do you have any favorite female wrestlers?
She's not currently in WWE anymore, but it was when she got onto the main roster was Ember Moon.
I remember
She-
Ember Moon. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I thought she was just had that wild personality and this got really over with the crowd, especially when she debuted onto Raw. The crowd just went nuts, and it was just really easy to get behind her. And that I thought it was a great character, and especially when she had like the colored eye contacts, I believe, in her eye for like the orange fire and all that whole gimmick that she was doing. But yeah, I would probably still say Ember Moon, and I know I think she just started wrestling on the indie scene after like her 90-day no compete clause or something. I think it was in New York at a Comic-Con.
You gonna make a figure of her?
Maybe sometime, but I know she's got various figures from Mattel already. So
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I could make like an updated gear. Updated gear is always cool to do.
Who
Yeah.
have you met that out of wrestling? Who have you met, and what have the responses been to you? What you do?
Um, or like a big time wrestler, or just like
Sure.
any uh, well, actually, it was, I've met a couple big time wrestlers, but it was just because I met them. They just saw me as like the fan, but there I would probably say, yeah, various Minnesota wrestlers that recognize me, but I would say um the ones that I really talk to a lot would probably be like the system. He always appreciates my stuff.
Mm-hmm.
He's a world champion in the Midwest All-Star Wrestling in the Midwest. So yeah, he does really cool stuff like that.
Well, I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
I'm going.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
That's okay.
I forgot the building. All right. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Yeah.
I'm going to refer you to Scotty McCoy, who does a podcast called Slasher Scotty, and he's had some wrestling base personalities on, and I'm going to refer you to him because he'd probably love to hear your story about manufacturing custom figures as well. So, and he's a
Mhm.
big wrestling fan. So,
Mm.
anyway.
Oh no. Yeah. Could I have like half an hour or so? I can't. Okay.
That's okay. We're closing off here right now.
Okay. It'll just be like 2 minutes or something.
I can do 2 minutes, but not a half hour.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Sorry about the.
You're supposed to be the wrestling fan. You're supposed to put her in a hold. Put her
Yeah.
in a
Yeah.
sleeper hold.
Mm-hmm.
Put her in a
Yeah. Yeah.
sleeper hold so you can have more time.
Mhm,
I'm
yeah.
sorry. I hope I didn't cause a ref. But I was going to say, tell people where they can connect with you, especially if they want a custom done.
Okay. Yeah, so he's Instagram, it's the underscore phenomenal underscore figures, and then Facebook, just my name, Jeryn Piehl, JERYN PIEHL.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Well, folks, this has been fantastic. You want to get a custom done? He can make them. He can make them. I was told you made a Granny Hulkster figure.
We were talking about it a little bit, but yeah, that is something that it would be pretty fun to do for her sometime. Yeah. Mhm.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well,
Mhm.
Jeryn, thank you so much for coming on here. And this is fascinating. I've never done an interview like this before, and I was more than happy to have you come on here.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been really fun. It's just, yeah, always cool to talk wrestling figures and wrestling in general with anybody. So, yeah, it was really fun to be on.
And now you have to tap out to your lady friend there.
Yeah, I know. I keep forgetting that this college part of college building closes. I should have went to the library or something. It's open for a few hours, but
Oh, there you
yeah.
go.
Yeah.
Well, I'll
But
throw
it's-
your name out to Scotty and see what we can see if you can get you another interview. So there you go.
Yeah. Or yeah, even yeah, I mean there's a lot more stuff to talk about sometime if you wanted to have me on again. I just forgot the time and stuff.
Well, it's
But
okay. I'll put you on my list for next year,
okay.
and
Yeah,
we'll
yeah.
do an update. I've got a lot of bookings right now, but
Okay.
we could do a
Yeah, yeah.
follow up in 2023. That's not a problem.
Okay. Yeah,
All
that
right.
works.
And I will send you a link to this when it's ready, and you can post it wherever you want to.
All right. Sounds
All
good.
right. You take care. God bless, and keep doing what you're doing.
All right. Thank you.
All right.
Yeah.
God bless.
God bless.
Bye bye.